When people think of the original Splinter Cell, they usually picture this: Ubisoft Montreal's stealth classic, known for its cutting-edge lighting, tight level design, and that signature Tom Clancy atmosphere. But if you grew up with a PlayStation 2 or GameCube, there's a good chance you played a very different version of the game without even realizing it. This alternate take on Splinter Cell features new cutscenes, changed level layouts, gameplay tweaks, and even a mission you won't find anywhere else. And for many players, it was the only version they ever knew. So in this video, we're peeling back the shadows on this lesser-known path in Sam Fisher's history, the alternate version of Splinter Cell that some people never realized existed. Before we dive into the differences, let's rewind a bit. It all started in 1999 at Ubisoft's New York studio. Back then, Splinter Cell didn't even exist. What they were working on was a sci-fi spy game called The Drift, something more in line with James Bond than Tom Clancy. That project never made it past the prototype stage. Ubisoft eventually shut down the New York studio and handed its projects off to the relatively new Ubisoft Montreal. Fast forward about a year, Ubisoft acquires Red Storm Entertainment, and with it, the rights to use the Tom Clancy name. That's when Montreal revisits the old Drift prototype and tries to reshape it into something new, something grounded, something with night vision goggles. Upper management was impressed. So impressed, in fact, that they gave Montreal a very simple mandate: make a Metal Gear Solid 2 killer. And so, in late 2000, development officially began on what would eventually become Tom Clancy's Splinter Cell, under the work entitled Third Echelon. The team looked to both Metal Gear Solid and Thief for inspiration, crafting a stealth game that made dynamic lighting its core mechanic. Built in Unreal Engine 2, it pushed real-time shadows to the forefront, not just as eye candy, but as actual gameplay. The final game still carried faint echoes of the Drift prototype, but this was now very much its own thing. Microsoft saw potential too, striking a deal to make the game an Xbox exclusive until 2003. As Ubisoft Montreal was putting the final touches on the Xbox and PC versions in mid-2002, Ubisoft Shanghai stepped in. Their mission? Port Splinter Cell to the PlayStation 2 and GameCube, and do it fast. They started with Montreal's assets in Unreal Engine 2 and got support from Ubisoft teams in France and Italy. But development wasn't smooth sailing. The schedule was tight, the tech was demanding, and cultural differences led to friction within the team. Still, against all odds, Ubisoft Shanghai pulled it off. Their version of Splinter Cell hit PS2 and GameCube in early 2003, on time and a commercial success. But what players got wasn't just a downgraded port, it was something else. So, how different is Ubisoft Shanghai's version of Splinter Cell compared to the original? Well, quite a bit. Let's start with the cutscenes. In Ubisoft Montreal's version, the game opens with a slick, stylized montage, a rapid-fire collage of gameplay moments set to name of the game by the Crystal method. It's pure early 2000s energy, but Shanghai's version dials things back. Instead, it features an entirely new pre-rendered intro that dives deeper into the game's backstory, showing how the CIA agents were captured and how Fisher gets recruited. It's a cool addition, but it also rewrites a few details, creating inconsistencies between the two versions. And that's not the only cutscene change. Most of the original's in-game real-time cutscenes are replaced with pre-rendered ones in Shanghai's version. It's a noticeable shift, one that was probably driven by differences in hardware. Now let's talk about the graphics. Shanghai's version does keep the dynamic lighting that was so essential to the Montreal version, but it's a heavily downgraded version of it. Shadows are softer, lighting is flatter, and the dramatic contrast between light and darkness is sometimes mostly gone. In a stealth game built around light and shadow, that's a big deal. Textures and assets are also noticeably lower resolution. In some areas, things look completely different. For example, the oil rig mission in Montreal's version takes place during the day, surrounded by bright sunlight. But in Shanghai's version, that same level happens at night, changing the entire vibe of the mission. Overall, colors are more muted, and the whole game looks less saturated and visually punchy. Then there are the gameplay differences, and this is where things get really interesting. Because of hardware limitations, Shanghai had to rework large parts of the level design. Some areas are reshaped, simplified, or just missing entirely. Enemy placement is often different, and the AI behavior is less aggressive. For example, enemies are less likely to hear gunshots, and there are fewer guards in some sections. Destructible light sources, mostly gone. The original gave you a satisfying sense of control, letting you shoot out lights to manipulate your environment. In the Shanghai version, most lights are indestructible, which removes an important strategic element. But to be fair, Shanghai did add a few quality of life improvements. You can now press the right analog stick to aim down a scope. Lockpicking and using the optic cable can now be done through the interaction menu, without having to equip them first, making them quicker to use. When entering keypad codes, if you've learned the code already, the game displays it on screen. And the HUD now tracks how many alerts you've triggered, a helpful addition. Oh, and they added a completely new mission, exclusive to this version. It takes place in a nuclear power plant, and it's a nice bonus for PlayStation 2 players, but for some reason it's missing from the GameCube version of the game. Finally, there are a few notable story differences. I won't be listing all of them here to avoid spoilers, but here are some of them. In Shanghai's intro, we actually see CIA agents Blaustein and Madison working together and getting captured together. But in Montreal's version, we only hear about the fate. Madison went missing first, and Blaustein was sent in after her.
The CIA lost a mole inside Georgian President Combin Nicoladz's cabinet. Her name is Alice Madison. They sent in Agent William Robert Blaustein to find her and lost him too.
Even Sam Fisher's backstory gets tweaked. In Shanghai's version, Sam is already part of the third echelon and knows Pilot Wilkes personally. But in the Montreal version, the opening training mission is actually Sam's audition for the NSA job, and it's where he meets Wilkes for the first time.
Sam Fisher, let me introduce you to Vernon Wilkes Jr. Hello.
Hey, I've heard crazy things about your work.
There are even small line changes here and there, like when Sam tells Wilkes not to light up a cigarette. In one version, it's played off more casually. In the other, it feels more like a stern warning.
Don't like that.
I know. It's for after we land.
Don't like that.
Nice.
So in short, while the Montreal version of Splinter Cell is the one that made headlines and shaped the series' legacy, the Shanghai version is something else entirely. It's not just a simple port, it's practically a remake. From altered level layouts to a different intro, gameplay tweaks, graphical changes, and even a whole new mission, it really feels like a parallel universe version of the game. It's fascinating to compare the two, especially if you grew up with only one and never realized just how different the other was. And now I want to hear from you. Which version did you play growing up? The Xbox original, the PC port, or one of the PS2 and GameCube reimagined versions? And did you have any idea that there were different versions at all? Let me know in the comments below. If you're curious to check out the Shanghai version today, it's surprisingly easy. You can run it on the PCSX2 emulator with enhanced resolution and widescreen support. It's a great way to revisit this odd but charming take on Sam Fisher's first outing. And honestly, in some areas, I actually prefer the look of the Shanghai version. Sure, it's a downgrade technically, but there's something about the darker lighting and the moodier tone that just works. In the end, both versions have their strengths, and looking at them side by side is a great reminder of just how much a game can change when it passes through different hands. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe for more. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. And if you want to get in touch with me, follow me on X. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.